Good morning, everyone, or for me at least, it's 5 a.m. I hope you're having a rested day. So, this is the LuaX Academy Introduction to the Scripting course, okay? Presented by Lee, me, and produced by me as well, okay? So let's get started, right? Introduction, right? Chapter 1 is basically introduction. What is code? Alright, let me explain it simply. Code is basically telling the world in Roblox to do shit. Alright, don't overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, the basics is just that. Okay. Now there are very advanced ways to just get that done, but that's what you're gonna be learning. But at the very core, that's basically it. Right? Getting things from point A to point C. So A would be the input that begins the journey. Alright. B is the vessel, process, or script. Right? Either word you choose that will get there. Alright, and C is a result or output that you intended. For example, getting a door to open. The player clicks on the door, right? That's A. That's the input that begins the script, okay? And then the script determines if the door is closed or not, alright? And if it is not closed, the script opens the door by rotating or whatever, right? That is the process in which it will get to C, okay? And once the door is open, C will be met, right? The door is now open. That's the output that you intended. So, what makes a good coder is how well you can do B, right? That's very important, but also, well, mainly, probably the most important is how accurate your C is, because if your code doesn't even work as intended, then what the fuck was the point of the code, right? And then A is how easy it is to activate, although A isn't really much of it's not really that important, because it's just triggering the event, right? So, what makes good code, right? So now you know what code is, what makes it good, right? What makes it a good A, B, and C? Well, your code should be modular, right? That's the first. Your code is easy to edit, and it is easy to add new features, and is resistant to errors if something is removed or changed, okay? So let me show you an example of unmodular coding, right? You have this shit right here. You have a Dorito, okay, and it sends, Dorito known as data sends the information to all these processors, which will affect A, okay? Now this is unmodular because let's say the Dorito becomes a fucking square, right? Then you gotta go back to all these processors, right? And you gotta edit the processors so that they can fit a square instead of a fucking Dorito, okay? And that that fucking sucks, right? So what modular coding would do is you have this Dorito, okay? Right? And let's say it magically turns into a fucking square, right? It goes into this processor, right? And all you have to edit is the processor, which will affect all the A's instead of editing the Dorito. Editing all these ones instead, right? So it's just one thing that you have to edit, which is just the processor, right? So it's very simple. Only requires very little work, basically. Okay. And then let's say there's an error or you remove something in the processor, right? You wouldn't have to modify for every single one, or something happened in data, okay? You wouldn't have to go back and edit every processor if something broke in the data. Alright, perfect solution. Alright, next is efficiency. Does your code run with the minimum amount of operations, right? And is nothing repeated or wasted, okay? If you are repeating multiple lines of code, right, it's better to just write it into a function or basically a packet that repeats the same thing over and over again, or it repeats a certain line of code, right? It's better to write it into a function instead of keeping it as that just repeated code, right? Because it's going to be difficult if you have to change your code and then you have to go back to every one of those operations and change it instead of just putting it into a function. You just change the function, okay? And then let me show you the photo example. So for this one, Drake is cringing at you, okay? He hates you, like what the fuck, okay? Because for every variable, there's a different operation, and it goes to the processor. And let's say the processor is doing the same shit, okay? So that's like, or it's doing the same shit dependent on the variable, okay? But there's the 3 operations, okay, that send to the variable, or that send to the processor, and the processor will do something based on the variable. Now for this one, right? Drake is very happy, right? He's giving you a check for $1 million. As a matter of fact, he's running it right now, okay? You have A, B, and C, okay? And the operation will actually sort A, B, and C for you, okay? And then it will send over that information to the processor, right? Makes sense, right? So it's just one operation. There doesn't need to be 3 operations for every variable, right? It's just, you just do a main sort for this first operation. Although you probably don't understand what this means, we'll get to it later. If you want to know now, it's basically a table. Okay, so can your code accomplish the same process without needing to receive a bunch of different operations? Okay, very simple shit. Now, this is very important, okay? Easy to read, okay? If your code is like your motherfucking handwriting, now I'm emphasizing the we are so fucked. You have to understand that. And not only we, you are so fucked. Because let me tell you why. If your code is not understandable, right? And your code does not tell you and other coders exactly what is happening in a reasonable order, might I say, then essentially when you have to go back and edit your code, you're gonna be looking at that motherfucker, you'll be like, what the fuck? You're not even gonna know the baby that you birthed, okay? It's like giving a birth to a baby not even knowing his fucking name, cause you made the name so fucking complex. Like you named that motherfucker so now whenever you have to call on right, you don't remember how to call your name, how to call your baby's name properly, right? So you should make it exact. You should make it very understandable, right? Make it like a Tesla, okay? Don't make it like fucking Dr. Seuss, okay? Where it's going all over the place, right? So you start, right, and you process, and it's a very linear, like coders can follow. It's very linear. It's like it goes there, instead of Dr. Seuss where it goes here and then it goes here and then what the fuck goes here. I mean, if you really followed it, you could understand it. But like, just looking at it, like what the fuck? I mean, this one is just run off. This one just runs away and does something else entirely. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a mistake on my part, but fuck, like that's shit. Okay, so just use the KISS principle. All right, keep it simple, retard. I mean, stupid. Don't be out to impress people. Okay, hold on. My bad. Okay, don't be out to impress people. There's no point. Like, why are you trying to impress people? Okay, and then secure. Be exploiter proof as possible. Right, always be thinking about how the client will interact with the server. Right, when you're setting up remote events, which we will get to later. Okay, and you probably don't even know what the client-server relationship is. We will get to that. Just know, keep in mind for now that when you actually get there, right, you should keep in mind the relationship between it, okay? And how people might be able to exploit that relationship. So an example, you have weak exploits, that's like a wolf coming and is blowing down your fucking house, right? It's a weak ass house. Not when it's made out of wheat, it's weak, okay? And then we have right here an SCP level keter protection type beats house, okay? If a motherfucker inserts a fly script, they're banned, alright, just like that, okay? They can't even get close. It's like installing a turret on your house that shoots anything in a 10-mile radius, okay, with perfect accuracy. Anything that walks near that 10-mile radius, dead. Kids, dogs, cats, you name it, the police, the US government, dead. Okay, just that simple. So, that's the introduction, okay? I hope you had fun. I know I did. And that's basically that. So I'll see you in the next lesson. I want you to ingrain these mindsets into you, because these are principles for decision making. Okay, that's what is important here, right? Your thoughts are influenced by the principles that you hold. Okay, and your thoughts, which is influenced by principles, as I said, will lead to actions or decisions that you make, and those decisions will affect the outcome that you give. So if you want a good outcome for your code, you need to have good principles in place. Make sense? Makes sense. Okay. So, thank you. Now where is...